Hey friends, Alan Lee here with Honestly Handyman Services out of Sacramento, California. Also own the Handyman Journey Consulting business, where we help handyman professionals just like you either start up a handyman business or take their current handyman business to the next level. So I want to talk today again about things that people often overlook when they are pricing jobs. On my last video I talked about how people don't often take into account trash or dump runs when they are estimating jobs, but getting your estimates correct is the key to actually making money in this business. Because if you miss even just the smallest things in your estimates, then you can lose out big time. So the thing I wanted to talk about today on today's episode is not forgetting or neglecting the small parts or materials that you might use for the particular jobs that you are going out to. Things that come to mind just off the top of my head are, screws or caulking, things like that, right? You go to a job and you maybe use 5 screws or, 2 squirts of caulking or whatever, Now these are small, insignificant things, but if you think about it, and if you never charge for those adequately, if you use 5 screws on every single job for a little while and you never charge for those screws, you are going to have a box of screws that you bought as a business and you use them on the customer's home. So it's very important to allocate, maybe not charging them for a full box of screws when you only use 5, but maybe come up with a percentage and make sure that you charge for that percentage so that you are getting that box of screws paid for, if not more. I'm a very big advocate of marking up materials, that when you buy materials from Home Depot or Lowe's, you should not sell them for that same price. I believe that you should mark up all materials, and our business, we have created a markup matrix. So basically, the more expensive the material gets, the less markup there is on that material. We have a video, I'll link that up here, about our markup matrix, where I kind of go through in depth and explain how that works. But so if you are buying a box of screws for X amount of dollars, you need to figure out, I wouldn't go so in depth of figuring how much cost per screw, although you could. I mean, if you wanted to have that, that would be all right knowledge to have, but I would just do a rough estimate and don't worry about overcharging for that material, because you took the time to go and get that material from the store. You are hauling that material around in your trailer or your truck. You know how to adequately use that material, so I think that you should be readily compensated for that material that you're using, talking in this case about screws or caulking. So one thing, I mean, we have boxes of screws that are just lying around that are like, they're not traditional screws that you would use, but every single time we use them, we charge a little bit for them, whether they're, gutter screws or, gutter downspout screws or self-tappers, right? You don't use those all the time, but when you do use them, you need to make sure that you charge adequately for them. So that's an important aspect of that. So you might have a box, any particular box of screw that maybe has been paid for 2 or 3 times over. And that's great, because that is a really good markup on that material. I'm not saying to do that on every single thing that you use, but for something that is maybe a little less traditional, but you have to buy for certain jobs, you want to make sure that you get paid for that, If you have to go out and buy a special type of screw and you only use, say, 10 of those screws out of that whole box, you had to buy that box, So there would be nothing wrong with charging the customer for the full price of that box, if you're never going to use those screws again. So I think it's very important to narrow down what your costs are and make sure that you are charging adequately for that. In this little series of estimating, that's what I wanted to hit particular on, is things that people commonly forget about when they're estimating jobs, and that is the little things, right? So people have done this differently. I've seen different people do it differently throughout the years. Some people put on a miscellaneous materials charge, kind of an unknown materials charge on every job, say, $5, $10, $12, whatever it is. And that's just put on every job just in case you have some unknown materials. Because there's always that unknown material that you don't think you're going to need, that you actually do need. So at the end of the day, just figure out what you're using. Maybe take some time today, figure out what you've used. Like, just write out everything you've used on the last few jobs, and you might be surprised that you have used something that you haven't charged adequately for. So I just want you guys to make sure that you guys are making money, because that is what's most important when you're going out there making money and helping people. If you are not making money, you can't help anyone. So you have to watch your bottom line first of all, and that's what we're all about here at the Handyman Journey. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I would love to hear your comments on this topic, on materials, marking up materials, miscellaneous materials. How do you guys charge for materials that you only use here or there, or miscellaneous materials like that? So leave me a comment in the comment section below. Also, subscribe to this channel and share this channel with anyone that you think might be interested in the handyman business in general. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I always love hanging out with you guys. Have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you on the next video.